Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Christopher Stevens is charged with statutory rape and sodomy. A woman says the abuse occurred between her sophomore and senior year.
This husband and wife are about to hear life-changing news. They're being charged with murder.
That is a charge called homicide felony murder. It is life without parole. It requires a DNA sample to be taken upon arrest.
His mouth drops in shock. He can't believe what he's hearing. His wife's reaction? She sobs uncontrollably. Tears streak her face. Seth Welch and his wife Tatiana stand accused of an unspeakable crime, starving their 10-month-old baby girl, Mary. The baby was so malnourished she had sunken eyes and cheeks and no pulse when paramedics found her at the Welch home outside Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hours later, Welch posted this message on Facebook. Heart is absolutely shattered. Woke up to Mary dead in her bed this morning. Just numb right now. But an autopsy revealed the cause of death was malnutrition and dehydration due to neglect by adult caregivers. The parents reportedly told police they noticed the baby was, quote, skinny and underweight a month ago, but did not seek medical attention because of their religious beliefs and a mistrust in medicine and the government.
We're going to do whatever we got to do.
Welch has also posted more than 100 hours of video on his Facebook page.
This doesn't fit in with my worldly brain.
His Facebook page is filled with bizarre rants against government, the Harry Potter series, and even Disney characters. He also reads from the Bible.
I like to start with the scriptures.
Now he and his wife are in the worst trouble of their lives, and they just can't believe it.
Suspect has been arrested in western Kentucky in connection to a Rowan County double homicide. Kentucky State Police say 44-year-old Joshua Cottrell is facing 2 counts of murder and an evidence tampering charge. WKYT's Maggie Rickerby has been on scene throughout the day, and she has the latest tonight on the investigation. Our top story at 11.
When you're at home, you're supposed to feel safe. You're supposed to feel comfortable when you're on home, and to not have that, I couldn't imagine.
It's been a heartbreaking scene here in Rowan County as we've learned more information on a double homicide that claimed the lives of a mother and a daughter. Police say the Rowan County Sheriff's Office was called to a home just after 10 in the morning for a wellness check. That's where they found the victims. 37-year-old Kayla Blake and 13-year-old Kennedy McWhorter are their names. Police say an initial investigation named 44-year-old Joshua Cottrell a suspect in the double homicide. Police found Cottrell at a hospital all the way in Paducah. He was treated at that hospital, released, and arrested. He's now facing 2 charges of murder and 1 charge of tampering with physical evidence. Cottrell is currently being held at the McCracken County Jail. Neighbors say it's a quiet neighborhood here on Spring Street South. Many are shocked and heartbroken for this family.
Really great family. I mean, our interactions, it wasn't much. My daughter played softball with her a couple times. The mother took pictures of our daughter and gave them to us. It was really sweet lady.
Suarez says his daughter is struggling with the loss of her classmate.
My daughter goes to school with her, and it kind of hit her really hard.
The investigation remains ongoing. In Rowan County, Maggie Rickerby, WKYT.
And Kennedy McWhorter went to Rowan County Middle School, and the school said on Facebook that they will be having grief counselors available at the school tomorrow from 10 a.m. until noon.
A teacher's been arrested on statutory rape charges. Casey McGrath was suspended from teaching last spring for inappropriate conduct. According to the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office website, deputies booked the 28-year-old on Friday. McGrath is a former Central High School teacher.
Mother's home, now a crime scene. Law enforcement accuses an Athens woman of killing her own infant. Morgan Sky Thornton, pictured here, is behind bars tonight and charged with capital murder. It all started shortly before 12:45 this morning when deputies were responding to the scene in Athens.
Call with State Drive. Call with State Drive. I have an 8-month-old. Possible full arrest now. Confirmed for the rest of the time.
10-4, you're got CPR in progress. EMS is on scene as well.
This all happening shortly before 12:45 Friday morning. The Limestone County Sheriff's Office says they found the infant severely beaten and unresponsive when they arrived on scene in the 15,000 block of Estate Drive in Athens. Life-saving efforts were started, and the infant did regain a pulse before being taken to the hospital. That's where the infant died from their injuries. The investigation determined the mother, Morgan Thornton, caused those injuries. Her initial charge of aggravated child abuse has since been upgraded to capital murder. The sheriff's office says Thornton appeared to be intoxicated at the time of the incident. Court records show Thornton was also recently arrested back in June and was given a second-degree assault charge. Limestone County Sheriff Joshua McLaughlin says in a statement, "Please keep this family and everyone who responded to this heartbreaking scene in your prayers. While the outcome is devastating, I'm incredibly proud of our deputies, firefighters, EMTS, hospital staff, and DHR workers who did absolutely everything in their power to save this innocent child." We spoke to many of Thornton's neighbors today who did not want to be on camera, but were all saddened about the tragedy. Some tell us Thornton hasn't lived in the home on Estate Drive for a long time. Thornton is now in custody at the Limestone County Jail. Court records show she will not have a bond, and a preliminary hearing is set for Tuesday of next week. This is a developing story. Fox 54 will be providing updates once they become available. And from our editor's notebook, we want to note that Thornton worked for about 2 years at WZDX Fox 54 in a support role in the station's sales department. That employment ended in 2020.
A police commander in West Suburban Bellwood faces child pornography charges. At a hearing this morning, a judge set bond at $150,000 for John Trevathan. Detectives were tipped off by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children about files being shared. Investigators say they found photos on the officer's phone during a traffic stop yesterday. He's also accused of sharing files with an IP address linked to a computer owned by the village.
This morning, an investigation with disgusting allegations, including sexual crimes against children.
Yeah, 4 people now arrested in this large child exploitation case. Going to show you some of their photos here. These are the people that are now facing charges as investigators announced the arrest on Thursday. The claims include child and animal sex abuse. Some of the details are just too horrible for us to talk about here on TV. There are more than 60 charges in all, including child exploitation, possession of child pornography, things like sexual misconduct with a minor. If you want to learn more about these 4, what they're accused of doing, you can read about the suspects and the accusations. We have a website story up at fox59.com.
A 77-year-old Lucy Reed was stabbed multiple times in her home on Old Oak Road in Milton. The man who the sheriff's office said did it, Toby White, fled after the crime.
WEAR's Karis Arman joining us now. And Karis, White was arrested in Suwannee County?
Yeah, multiple agencies tracked him down. White has been arrested in Santa Rosa County 7 times since 2011. In fact, he was released from jail on January 8th of this year, only 13 days before this incident.
I can't imagine what it's like seeing your wife stabbed pretty much to death in front of you.
According to the Santa Rosa Sheriff's Deputies report, on January 20th, Lucy Reed and her husband were sitting down in the living room watching TV when suddenly in walked 31-year-old Toby White, holding a butcher knife.
Toby White stabbed Lucy Reed to death. She's 77 years old. She was stabbed to death in front of her husband.
The report saying her husband brought her to the hospital with multiple stab wounds, including one to her head. She eventually passed away.
Husband of the victim said that when he asked him why did he do that, he said God told him to. That was his answer.
The devil might have told him.
WEAR News went to the Reed residence today and spoke with Mr. Reed, who did not want to go on camera, but told us he was helping Toby get back on his feet and allowed him to live in a camper and work on his property. The report saying it wasn't unusual for White to come into the home unannounced. White was allowed regular access to the main house as long as one of them were present. Mr. Reed told us Toby admitted to using drugs in the past, but assured Mr. Reed he was clean. People who live nearby spoke with us.
You don't think it ever happened this close to home. You don't know who to trust anymore. I just see him walking up and down the road, you know. I didn't know anything was wrong with him, but you never know.
Sheriff Johnson says after the murder, White stole a vehicle from Industrial Boulevard in Milton and took off.
He was located down in Alachua County. Somebody pursued him, but they didn't know it was a murder suspect at the time, so they called off the pursuit. One thing leads to another. We get a hold of him down there and say, hey, he's a murder suspect.
After another pursuit, Johnson says White crashed his car and ran on.
A local man has been charged with possession of child pornography and other obscene materials. Okaloosa County deputies arrested 26-year-old Zeppelin Burrow of Crestview. They'd been investigating him for almost 18 months. Deputies say they found 100 images and videos of child pornography and bestiality. Burrow is currently in the Okaloosa County Jail.
Developing this evening, we've now learned the man who police say shot and killed 3 people in Mount Washington this past weekend has also now died. So 2 of the victims were sisters. WLWT News 5's anchor Chris Jacobs here now with the update. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, hey, Cherie. So that suspected gunman was identified by police as 26-year-old Samuel Erickson. They say he killed himself after he shot 3 others. Erickson was initially hospitalized in critical condition. Now, we're also learning from police that Erickson knew at least one of the victims and had a romantic interest in one of them. Police say they're not investigating this as a hate crime. So this happened on Sunday afternoon on Beacon Street in Mount Washington. CPD says Erickson shot and killed Bimnet Doris Eden Adugna and Fiva Adugna. When police got there, Bimnet and one of the women were already dead. The other woman, along with Erickson, were taken to the hospital where they both later died. We're told Fivan and Eden were sisters who both worked as pharmacy technicians for Good Sam Hospital. TriHealth telling WLWT they were cherished members of the hospital team, and posts on social media say Bimnet worked at a store on Montana Avenue. So what led up to this shooting is still unclear. We will keep you updated as we learn more information. Chris Jacobs, WLWT News 5.
All right, so this next one is animal cruelty investigator demographics by race. And it says the most common ethnicity among animal cruelty investigators is white, which makes up 75.8% of all animal cruelty investigators. Comparatively, 9% of animal cruelty investigators are Black or African American, and 7% of animal cruelty investigators are Hispanic or Latino. So you can see when you compare whites and so-called blacks, 75.8% for whites, 9% for so-called black. Interesting. Let's look at another one. This next one says prosecution of animal sex abuse or bestiality offenders in the United States from 1975 to 2015, published in the Journal of the American Academy of Psychiatry and the Law in 2019, with an updated reference in 2025. This study analyzed 456 arrests for bestiality-related incidents in the U.S. over a 40-year period and included some demographic breakdowns, including race. According to the study, race was known for most offenders. White individuals made up 71.3% of those arrested. So-called African American individuals accounted for 5.5%, and Hispanic American individuals comprised 5.3%. The remaining percentage include other racial groups or cases where race was not specified. So far we have 2 witnesses that when it comes to abuse of animals, whites make up over 70% of those cases. So-called Black Americans, we make up a very, very, very small number. Let's look at some more. Now let's look at this article. It says facts about bestiality. Studies have shown that people who engage in bestiality may have a higher risk of developing certain mental health problems such as anxiety and depression. Bestiality is often associated with other illegal activities such as animal abuse, CP, and SA. Now, it's interesting because they have the highest numbers in all 3 of these things. And as I continue to build out this series, you are going to see that oftentimes when a person is caught abusing an animal sexually, usually that goes hand in hand with CP possession, inappropriate materials of children. Bestiality has been linked to the spread of certain zoonotic diseases, such as rabies, brucellosis, which can be transmitted from animals to humans. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, there have been several cases of humans contracting brucellosis from infected animals used in bestiality. Oh my. Studies have shown that people who engage in bestiality may have a higher risk of developing certain mental health problems such as anxiety and depression. A study published in the Journal of Sex Research found that individuals who engage in bestiality were more likely to have a history of childhood, SA, and to report symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. A study published in the Journal of Sex Research found that individuals who engage in bestiality were more likely to have other paraphilias, such as exhibition and voyeurism. Very interesting. Let's look at some more. All right, let's look at another one. So this is also from Statista, and this is entitled Number of Murder Offenders in the United States in 2023 by Race. Look at that. Now, we are told that blacks are the most dangerous. So-called blacks are dangerous. But if you look at this, the highest race are whites. Yeah, we come in second, but whites come in first. But we're supposed to be the dangerous ones. Let's look at some more. All right, let's move to the next one. So we have race or origin in regards to family violence. According to police data, most of the victims of family violence were white. Whites made up 69.7% of family violence victims. Blacks, 24.7%, and Hispanics, 4.7%. Less than 1% of family violence victims were persons of other races. Just over 70% of spouse violence victims were white, and 23% were black. Of individuals victimized by boyfriends or girlfriends, just under 60% were white, and 36% were black. Close to 3/4 of victims who were a parent of the offender were white, and 1/5 were black. Among siblings, more than 3/5 were white and 3/10 were black. Indicated that nearly 73% of family violence offenders were white, slightly more than 26% were also black. Also defined as both Hispanic and non-Hispanic, and 1% were of other races. For violence between non-family members, whites accounted for about 60% of offenders, blacks nearly 39%, and other races slightly under 1%. The percentage of black and white offenders vary depending on the relationship between the victim and offender. In violent crimes in which the victim was the offender's spouse, 73.7% of the offenders were white and 25.2% were black. For boyfriends or girlfriends victims, 57.6% of offenders were white and 41.6% of offenders were black. But again, we're supposed to be the dangerous ones. 86% of reported cases of bestiality involve penetration. 72.5% of animals were well known or lived in close proximity to the convicted. 20% reported that they committed bestiality because they did not feel attractive to others. That's a certain people that are crying about so-called white genocide. 50% of bestiality offenders are between 20 and 50 years of age. And 85% of bestiality offenders are white, compared to 58% of the general U.S. population. Well. How about that? They say that we violent, but they the ones going around unaliving their family. They the ones going around violating animals, laying with animals. I mean, they try to put all the violence on us, but hey.
Shit to do with me, hey, that ain't got shit to do with me. That ain't got shit to do with me. That ain't got shit to do with me.
2 people are arrested in Roseburg for child sex crimes and animal sexual abuse. Last month, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office conducted a criminal investigation involving child exploitative material, and a 5-year-old victim was identified as a child known to the suspect. 40-year-old Daniel Roy Phelps of Roseburg officers also discovered evidence of a second victim, a 1-year-old child. Evidence indicated Phelps' girlfriend, 39-year-old Tara Danielle Crawford of Roseburg, participated in producing sexually explicit videos of the victims. The agency says detectives also found a video of Phelps sodomizing a canine. Both were arrested and taken to the Douglas County Jail. They each face several child sex abuse and animal sex abuse charges. Detectives believe there could be additional victims. They ask anyone with information to contact the sheriff's office at the number on your screen.
Well, tonight, a disturbing development in a story we've been following for more than a year. A second teacher at a Hudson elementary school has been charged with having an inappropriate relationship with a student. Abigail Faust resigned last year from her job at Rivercrest Elementary. The district was investigating whether she failed to report a relationship between fellow teacher Madison Bergman and a 5th grader. Carla Holt joins us now live from Hudson with a closer look at these new charges. Carla?
Julie, the community reeling tonight, and while parents say that they do not want to talk on camera at this point, they do say they find the allegations disturbing.
Rivercrest Elementary quiet in these waning weeks of summer. But according to court documents, this was the site of not one, but 2 series of crimes committed by 2 different but connected teachers against 2 different 5th grade students. We first learned about allegations against then 24-year-old Madison Bergman last year after she was charged with 10 felonies related to what she allegedly described in text messages as, quote, making out and touching one of her 5th grade students. Last May, Bergman and fellow teacher Abigail Faust both resigned from the school while Bergman's case unfolded. Now the 24-year-old Faust faces 4 counts of her own. In a criminal complaint first filed Monday, Faust is accused of knowing about the relationship between Bergman and the student with whom she was involved and not reporting it. But the complaint also documents through Bergman's text messages, other student accounts, and eventually the student himself, an inappropriate relationship between Faust and a 5th grade student in her class. At one point, the student, now 12 years old, told a Hudson police detective, quote, after school that day and after all the other students had left, Faust pushed victim 2 up against the wall and kissed him on the cheek. Victim 2 stated that it made him feel uncomfortable and scared. The complaint also notes, quote, when asked about how he feels about Ms. Faust, he stated that he never wants to see her again. We reached out to Hudson School District leaders and received a statement that reads in part, quote, we recognize that trust is essential in our school community, and we remain committed to providing a safe learning environment for every student. Over the past year, the Hudson School District has strengthened training for staff on professional boundaries with students.
No, both teachers are not in custody. Bergman is awaiting trial. We also know that that school district statement reads a lot about the support and other services that are available for families. And to read the full district statement, just go to our website, care11.com. Julie?
And if those allegations are true, it's just so hard. It's just almost unbelievable. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget you can support this channel by Cash App, $MalkiYah Music. Also be sure to check out the Patreon for uncensored documentaries, films, deep dives, and much more content that you won't find here on YouTube. Check out the merch store for the latest trip. And let me not forget to say, if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that like button and tap in with us. All praises to the Most High, Yahuwah, the highest. Shalom.